10 Most Haunted Northern Irish Places. Northern Ireland's rich history is woven with tales of the supernatural, where ancient landscapes and historic sites are haunted by the lingering spirits of the past. From mysterious apparitions to eerie sounds, these haunted locations offer a glimpse into a world where the line between the living and the dead is blurred. In this collection, we explore 10 of Northern Ireland's most haunted places, where history and the paranormal collide. Killan Castle, County Fermanagh. Killan Castle, located in County Fermanagh, stands majestically on the banks of the River Erne. Built in the 16th century by the ruling Gaelic Maguire family, the castle has seen centuries of military activity and played a key role in both the Irish Rebellion and later British occupation. While its historical significance is undisputed, Killan Castle has also earned a reputation for being one of Northern Ireland's most haunted locations. The castle is said to be home to several ghosts, with the most famous being that of a spectral soldier who roams the battlements at night. The soldier is believed to have been a guard who died in the castle under mysterious circumstances, and his restless spirit has lingered ever since. Visitors and staff alike have reported hearing the sound of heavy boots marching across the stone walls when the castle is completely empty. Some claim to have seen his shadowy figure standing guard near the castle's towers, only for him to vanish into thin air when approached. The soldier isn't alone in his hauntings. Deep within the castle's dungeons, prisoners were once held under appalling conditions. It is said that the cries and moans of these prisoners can still be heard echoing through the stone halls, particularly at night. Visitors have recounted hearing whispers and faint, desperate pleas for help as they toured the lower levels of the castle. Many leave feeling a heavy sense of dread, as if the weight of the castle's tragic history presses down on them. One of the castle's most well-known ghost stories involves the ghost of a woman who is seen wandering the halls. Known as the Lady in Black, she is said to be the spirit of a young woman who was executed at the castle after being accused of witchcraft in the 17th century. The Lady in Black is often described as a sorrowful figure, dressed in a long black cloak, drifting silently through the corridors of the castle. Some believe that she is searching for justice or peace, while others think she is seeking revenge on those who wronged her. One particularly eerie encounter with the Lady in Black occurred during a private event held at the castle in the early 2000s. A group of guests saw a dark figure moving across one of the balconies, assuming it was part of the castle's historical reenactment. But when they went to investigate, they found no one there, and the staff later confirmed that no actors were present in that part of the castle during the event. The Lady in Black had made yet another appearance, leaving behind only unanswered questions and cold chills. In addition to these ghosts, there have been numerous reports of unexplained phenomena throughout Killan Castle. Cold spots, sudden drafts of wind, and objects moving on their own have all been documented. Some visitors have experienced extreme changes in temperature as they move from one room to the next, despite the castle being climate-controlled. These sudden shifts are believed to be the result of ghostly activity, particularly in areas where intense emotions such as fear, pain, or sorrow once dominated. Over the years, paranormal investigators have been drawn to Killan Castle in hopes of documenting the supernatural occurrences that have been reported. Some have captured electronic voice phenomena, EVPs, with ghostly voices, while others have recorded strange light anomalies and shadowy figures on camera. These findings only serve to deepen the mystery surrounding the castle and its haunted history. Today, Killan Castle is a popular tourist destination, with visitors drawn both to its rich historical significance and its reputation as one of Northern Ireland's most haunted sites. As people explore its ancient stone corridors, many leave with more than just an appreciation for its history. They leave with tales of ghostly encounters that they'll never forget. Kandu House, Laugharne. Perched on the cliffs above the town of Laugharne in County Antrim, Kandu House is a crumbling mansion with a history steeped in tragedy and mystery. Originally built in the late 19th century as a grand estate for the wealthy Chain family, the house later served as a convalescent home before falling into disrepair. Today, its decaying structure stands as a haunting reminder of its past, and many believe that Kandu House is one of the most haunted locations in Northern Ireland. The house's eerie atmosphere begins with its very appearance. Now abandoned, the once grandiose mansion is covered in vines and ivy, with shattered windows and crumbling walls giving it an air of neglect. The grounds, once meticulously kept, are now overgrown, and visitors who dare to approach often report an overwhelming sense of unease as they draw near. But it's not just the state of the house that stirs fear, it's the stories of what lingers within its decaying halls. One of the most famous spirits said to haunt Kandu House is that of Lillian Chain, the wife of Sir Thomas Chain, the man who commissioned the house. Lillian is believed to have died in the home, and her ghost is said to have remained there ever since. Visitors have reported seeing the figure of a woman, dressed in a long gown, standing at the windows, gazing out to sea. Those who have come too close to the house at night have described hearing strange, disembodied voices, and the sensation of being watched from the empty windows above. The house's time as a convalescent home adds another layer of tragedy to its story. During this period, many of the patients who stayed at Kandu were terminally ill, seeking rest and care in their final days. It's believed that some of the spirits of these patients never left. Paranormal investigators have reported encountering cold spots, mysterious sounds, and even fleeting glimpses of shadowy figures moving through the dilapidated rooms. In one particularly chilling tale, a group of teenagers who entered the house on a dare claimed to have seen the ghostly figure of an elderly man sitting in a wheelchair in one of the upstairs rooms. When they approached, the man simply vanished, leaving behind only the echo of his presence in the empty room. Another visitor reported hearing the distinct sound of coughing coming from the upper floors, despite the house being completely abandoned. Perhaps the most disturbing part of Kandu House is the basement. This area of the house was once used as a morgue during its time as a convalescent home, and it's said that the spirits of those who passed away there are particularly active. Some visitors have described feeling a sudden and inexplicable sense of dread when entering the basement, while others have heard what they believe to be footsteps or the sound of doors creaking open and shut, even though the doors were long since gone. Despite its ruined state, Kandu House continues to attract the attention of urban explorers and ghost hunters, all of whom are drawn to its haunted reputation. But many who enter the house leave with an unsettling feeling that they are not alone. Even in its decay, Kandu House remains a place of mystery and fear, where the ghosts of the past seem to linger in the shadows, watching and waiting for the next brave soul to enter. With its tragic history and numerous reports of paranormal activity, Kandu House has earned its place as one of Northern Ireland's most haunted locations. The decaying mansion may be empty of life, but its dark corridors are filled with the whispers of those who once lived and died within its walls. Amar Jail, Amar City. Amar Jail, located in the heart of Amar City, is often referred to as the most haunted prison in Northern Ireland. Opened in 1780, the jail served as a women's prison for much of its history and housed both common criminals and political prisoners. The dark, cold walls of Amar Jail have seen centuries of suffering, violence, and death, making it a prime location for tales of restless spirits and paranormal activity. Life inside the prison was harsh, with many prisoners facing brutal conditions, overcrowding, and starvation. Public executions were held within its walls, and the weight of its grim past has left its mark on the building. Though the prison was closed in 1986, its legacy lives on, not only in the history books but also in the stories of hauntings that continue to this day. One of the most notorious spirits said to haunt Amar Jail is that of a former matron known for her cruelty. The matron, who worked at the prison during the 19th century, was feared by the prisoners for her harsh punishments and lack of empathy. After her death, stories began to circulate about her ghostly figure stalking the corridors, particularly in the area where executions were carried out. Many visitors to the jail have reported hearing the sound of heavy footsteps echoing through the building, despite the fact that no one is there. In one chilling account, a visitor on a guided tour felt a sudden rush of cold air followed by a sharp tug on her arm. She turned to scold the person she thought was behind her, but there was no one near. The guide later mentioned that the spot where she had the encounter was known for such incidents, with many others reporting similar unexplained touches and movements. Another haunting tale involves the ghost of a young woman who was imprisoned in the jail for a petty crime but tragically died in her cell. Prison records suggest she suffered from neglect, with her pleas for help ignored by the wardens. Her spirit is said to remain in the cell, her sobs and whispers heard late at night. Paranormal investigators have captured electronic voice phenomena, EVPs, in the prison, believed to be her voice calling out for help, even after all these years. Perhaps one of the most unsettling areas of the jail is the dungeon-like basement, where prisoners were once kept in solitary confinement. Here, people have reported feeling overwhelming fear and sadness, with some even experiencing nausea or dizziness upon entering the space. The oppressive atmosphere is said to be caused by the lingering energy of the countless souls who suffered and died within these walls. In addition to the ghosts of former inmates, the jail's connection to political history has led to stories of spirits tied to the infamous Irish rebellions. These spirits are said to be particularly active in certain cells, where some of the most notorious political prisoners were held. Although plans have been made to redevelop the building into a luxury hotel, many believe that the spirits of Amar Jail will never truly leave. The layers of tragedy, pain, and death that permeate the building have created a lasting impression on its halls, making it one of the most haunted locations in Northern Ireland. For those who visit, Amar Jail offers more than just a glimpse into the brutal prison system of the past. It offers an encounter with the lingering spirits who seem to have been imprisoned long after their deaths. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, the atmosphere inside Amar Jail is enough to make even the most skeptical visitor feel uneasy. Shane's Castle, County Antrim. Shane's Castle, located on the shores of Lough Neagh in County Antrim, is one of Northern Ireland's most famous and historically significant castles. While it is known for its rich history and picturesque ruins, Shane's Castle is also notorious for its ghostly inhabitants and chilling legends that have made it a hotspot for paranormal activity. The castle, which has been owned by the O'Neill family for centuries, holds more than just stories of battles and noble heritage. It holds secrets that have haunted its grounds for generations. One of the most famous ghostly figures associated with Shane's Castle is that of their White Lady. She is said to be the spirit of a woman who was either wronged or suffered a great tragedy during her life. Dressed in a flowing white gown, her pale figure has been seen wandering the ruins of the castle, particularly near the old stone tower. Many believe she is searching for something or someone lost long ago. Visitors who have seen her describe a sudden feeling of overwhelming sadness and a chill in the air just before she appears. The legend of the White Lady has been passed down for centuries, with some claiming she is the ghost of a heartbroken woman who died within the castle's walls. However, her exact identity remains a mystery. The O'Neill family themselves are said to have acknowledged the ghost's presence, with family records referring to strange occurrences that they believed were connected to the White Lady. Several members of the family have claimed to see her during times of misfortune, believing her appearance to be a bad omen. But the White Lady is not the only spirit believed to haunt Shane's Castle. The estate is also associated with a family curse, said to have been placed on the O'Neills by an Irish monk centuries ago. The curse foretold that the castle would fall to ruin and that the family would face great tragedies. In 1816, a devastating fire swept through Shane's Castle, destroying much of the structure. Some believe the fire was the fulfillment of the curse, while others think that the paranormal activity intensified after the fire, as if the spirits trapped within the castle were released. One of the most eerie areas of Shane's Castle is the underground tunnel that runs beneath the ruins. Known as their hellhole, the tunnel has been the site of numerous ghost sightings and strange occurrences. Some say that shadowy figures can be seen lurking in the tunnel's dark corners, and those brave enough to venture into the tunnel have reported hearing footsteps behind them, only to turn around and find no one there. In one particularly chilling incident, a group of visitors exploring the castle at night claimed to hear the sound of faint wailing coming from the direction of the tunnel. As they moved closer, the sound grew louder and more distinct, as if someone, or something, was crying out in agony from beneath the ground. Despite their best efforts to locate the source of the noise, the group found nothing but the tunnel's damp, crumbling walls. Over the years, paranormal investigators have been drawn to Shane's Castle, conducting numerous investigations to uncover the truth behind the ghostly legends. They have captured recordings of strange noises, sudden drops in temperature, and even sightings of spectral figures moving through the castle's ruins. The combination of the family curse, the tragic fire, and the restless spirits make Shane's Castle a prime location for ghost hunters and those curious about the supernatural. Today, the ruins of Shane's Castle still stand as a reminder of its storied past. While much of the castle lies in ruins, the O'Neill family continues to own the estate, and the grounds are occasionally open to visitors. However, those who walk through the castle's remains are warned to tread carefully, as the spirits of Shane's Castle may be watching from the shadows, waiting for the next person to cross their path. Belfast Castle, Belfast. Belfast Castle, located on the slopes of Cave Hill in Northern Ireland's capital city, is not only a stunning architectural gem but also one of the country's most haunted locations. Built in the 12th century and later reconstructed in the 19th century, the castle boasts breathtaking views over Belfast Lough and the city. However, beneath its grandeur lies a history rich with eerie legends and ghostly encounters. One of the most intriguing tales associated with Belfast Castle involves a ghostly cat. According to local legend, the family that owned the castle in the 19th century had a beloved white cat that roamed the estate freely. It was said that as long as the cat was well cared for, the family would enjoy good fortune. However, tragedy struck when the cat mysteriously disappeared. Soon after, misfortune befell the family, with illness and financial ruin following in quick succession. Since then, the spirit of the white cat has been seen on multiple occasions, often in times of distress, as if it's still trying to protect the castle from bad luck. Visitors and staff alike have reported seeing a large, white cat wandering the halls, only for it to vanish into thin air. Others have felt the distinct sensation of a cat brushing up against their legs, despite no animals being present. The spectral cat seems to be most active around the grand staircase, where it has been spotted multiple times by startled guests. But the castle's paranormal activity doesn't end with the feline spirit. Belfast Castle is also home to several human apparitions, the most famous of which is their Lady in White. Described as a tall woman dressed in a flowing white gown, she is said to roam the halls and staircases, sometimes appearing in mirrors or at the foot of visitors' beds. Though she doesn't seem to pose a threat, her sudden appearances have startled many an unsuspecting guest. One particularly chilling story comes from a guest who was staying in one of the castle's upper rooms. In the middle of the night, he awoke to find the Lady in White standing at the window, staring out over the city. Thinking she was another guest, he called out to her, but she remained silent. When he got up to investigate, the figure disappeared before his eyes, leaving him shaken and unable to sleep for the rest of the night. Cave Hill itself, which looms over the castle, adds another layer of supernatural intrigue to the location. The hill has long been associated with ancient Celtic myths and legends, including tales of hidden treasure, fairy activity, and even a mysterious giant who is said to be buried within the hill. Locals believe that the castle and the hill are connected by a network of supernatural forces, making the entire area a hotspot for ghostly activity. Aside from the Lady in White and the ghostly cat, there are frequent reports of unexplained noises, including the sounds of footsteps echoing through empty corridors and doors opening and closing by themselves. Staff members have spoken of feeling watched, even when they are alone in the castle late at night. One of the more unsettling aspects of Belfast Castle's hauntings is the cold spots that many visitors encounter, particularly in the older parts of the building. Some believe that these are areas where spirits are most active, and paranormal investigators have recorded significant drops in temperature in these locations. Belfast Castle remains a popular venue for weddings and events, but for those who know its haunted history, the elegance of the castle is matched only by the mystery of the spirits who are said to reside there. Whether it's the ghostly white cat trying to ward off bad luck or the lady in white wandering the halls, Belfast Castle offers more than just a picturesque setting, it offers a chilling glimpse into Northern Ireland's haunted past. Springhill House, County Londonderry. Springhill House, a beautiful 17th-century plantation home located in County Londonderry, may appear serene and inviting with its well-manicured gardens and charming architecture, but behind its picturesque facade lies a dark and tragic past. The house was home to the Lennox-Conyngham family for centuries, and with such an extensive history comes tales of sorrow, loss, and, of course, hauntings. The most famous ghost associated with Springhill House is that of Olivia Lennox-Conyngham, the wife of George Lennox-Conyngham, who owned the house in the 18th century. Olivia's life took a tragic turn when her husband, overwhelmed by financial troubles and depression, took his own life in the study of their home. Heartbroken, Olivia was left to raise their children alone, and it is said that her grief has bound her spirit to the house ever since. Visitors to Springhill House have often reported sightings of Olivia's ghost, always described as wearing a long, flowing dress and moving quietly through the rooms, particularly near the study where her husband's tragic death occurred. Some have heard the faint sound of weeping echoing through the halls, while others have felt an inexplicable coldness settle over them when they enter the room where George ended his life. One particularly eerie occurrence happened to a tour guide who was closing up the house for the evening. As she walked past the study, she noticed a figure sitting in one of the armchairs, staring out of the window. Thinking it was a guest who had been left behind, she approached the figure, only for it to vanish before her eyes. Shaken, she quickly left the room, but the image of the sorrowful woman has stayed with her ever since. But Olivia isn't the only spirit said to haunt Springhill. The house is also home to a collection of antique dolls, many of which have been linked to strange occurrences. Some visitors claim to have seen the dolls' eyes move or have found them in different positions from where they were last placed. The sense of being watched is strong in the rooms where the dolls are displayed, and even the bravest of visitors have reported feeling uneasy in their presence. Springhill House continues to attract both history buffs and paranormal enthusiasts alike. While its beauty and historical significance are undeniable, it is the tragic tale of Olivia Lennox-Conyngham and the lingering presence of her spirit that truly captivates those who visit. For those who believe in ghosts, Springhill House offers a glimpse into a world where sorrow and love transcend even death, and where the past is never truly gone. The Dark Hedges, Ballymoney. The Dark Hedges, near Ballymoney in County Antrim, is one of the most iconic landmarks in Northern Ireland. What began as an enchanting avenue of beech trees planted by the Stuart family in the 18th century to impress visitors has become a place where beauty and terror blend together. With its intertwining branches creating an almost surreal tunnel, the Dark Hedges is a favorite spot for photographers and tourists alike. But as day turns to night, its picturesque charm takes on a more sinister tone. Local legend speaks of a ghostly figure known as the Grey Lady, a spectral presence said to haunt the road beneath the trees. The Grey Lady is believed to be the spirit of a woman from the Stuart family or possibly a servant who died under mysterious circumstances. Many who visit the Dark Hedges at dusk or dawn have reported seeing her figure drifting silently along the road. Drivers have claimed to catch glimpses of her in their rearview mirrors, only for her to disappear when they turn to look. Those brave enough to venture into the hedges on foot often describe an overwhelming sense of being watched, with cold chills creeping up their spines. But the haunting doesn't end with the Grey Lady. The Dark Hedges is also rumoured to be a gathering place for other wandering spirits. Some say that on Halloween night, the road is frequented by the souls of those buried in unmarked graves nearby. The eerie atmosphere intensifies as shadows lengthen and the wind rustles through the twisted branches, creating sounds that many believe are whispers from the beyond. One particularly chilling story comes from a local man who, in the 1950s, drove through the hedges late one evening after a long day of work. As his car entered the tree-lined road, it began to stutter, the headlights flickering ominously. Just as he came to a stop, he saw her, the Grey Lady, standing in the middle of the road, her face pale and expressionless. Frozen with fear, he watched as she glided toward his car, disappearing just as she reached the bonnet. When he looked around, the hedges were still and silent, but the sense of dread lingered long after he had driven away. While the Dark Hedges has gained fame as a filming location for popular television series, it remains a place steeped in mystery and supernatural tales. Even today, locals avoid the road after dark, and visitors come not only for the beauty but also in the hope of catching a glimpse of the Grey Lady. The intertwining branches seem to whisper secrets of their own, and those who walk beneath them are left wondering whether they've truly left the mortal world behind. The Devil's Punch Bowl, County Antrim. High in the Antrim Hills lies a small, deceptively peaceful lake known as the Devil's Punch Bowl. The picturesque setting, surrounded by rolling green hills and rocky outcrops, belies the dark legend that has earned the lake its ominous name. According to local folklore, the devil himself once appeared at the lake, leaving behind a lingering curse that still haunts the area to this day. The story of the Devil's Punch Bowl dates back to the 18th century, when a small village near the lake experienced a series of mysterious and tragic events. Crops failed, livestock disappeared, and several villagers fell ill with no explanation. In their desperation, the villagers sought the help of a local healer, who claimed that dark forces were at play. According to the healer, the lake was a gateway to the underworld, and the devil himself had chosen it as a site for his earthly mischief. One night, a group of young villagers decided to test the legend. Armed with torches and bravery, they hiked to the lake under the cover of darkness. As they stood at the water's edge, they began to feel an unnatural chill in the air. The still water of the lake began to ripple, though there was no wind. Then, without warning, a dense fog rolled in, swallowing the group whole. Terrified, they tried to find their way back, but the fog disoriented them, and they found themselves circling the lake repeatedly. Suddenly, the ground beneath them seemed to shift, and a low, rumbling sound filled the air. The water in the lake began to churn violently, and one of the group swore they saw a dark figure rising from its depths. Panicked, they ran in all directions, eventually making it back to the village. The next morning, one of the group was missing. His body was found by the lake a few days later, his face frozen in terror, though there were no visible injuries. Since that night, no one has dared to approach the Devil's Punch Bowl after dark. Many believe that the lake is cursed, and its tranquil surface hides something far more sinister beneath. Those who visit during the day report an eerie stillness around the lake, as if the landscape is holding its breath. Birds rarely sing near the water, and animals seem to avoid it altogether. Hikers have shared stories of hearing faint whispers carried on the wind, though they are always alone when they hear them. The most common report is of a heavy, oppressive feeling that settles over visitors as they approach the water, a sense that they are being watched by unseen eyes. Over the years, paranormal investigators have been drawn to the Devil's Punch Bowl, hoping to capture evidence of its haunting reputation. Some have recorded unusual electromagnetic activity around the lake, while others have claimed to hear strange growling noises or footsteps following them along the path. One investigator reported seeing glowing red eyes staring out from the water, only for them to vanish when approached. Others have seen shadowy figures darting through the trees on the outskirts of the lake, always just out of sight. While the true nature of the Devil's Punch Bowl remains a mystery, its reputation as one of Northern Ireland's most haunted places is undeniable. Locals continue to warn visitors to stay away from the lake after nightfall, fearing that the dark forces at work might claim another victim. Whether it's the site of a lingering curse or simply a place where the natural world feels unnaturally still, the Devil's Punch Bowl remains a haunting reminder of the legends that have shaped Northern Ireland's supernatural landscape. Bangor Abbey, North Down. Nestled in the heart of Bangor, County Down, lies Bangor Abbey, one of Northern Ireland's oldest and most historically significant religious sites. Founded in 558 AD by Saint Congall, the abbey was once a thriving monastic settlement and a hub of Christian learning. However, despite its holy origins, Bangor Abbey has long been associated with ghostly sightings and paranormal activity that seem to defy the sacred nature of the site. The most famous spirit said to haunt Bangor Abbey is that of a monk, often referred to as their Wailing Monk. Local legend claims that he was part of the abbey during the Viking raids of the 9th century when Bangor was sacked and burned. During the attack, many of the monks were killed or taken as slaves, and it's said that this particular monk perished while trying to protect the abbey's sacred relics. His failure, and the destruction of the abbey, is said to have left his spirit bound to the ruins, eternally mourning the loss of his brethren. Visitors to Bangor Abbey often report hearing the sound of distant wailing, especially at night, when the winds sweep through the ancient grounds. Some have even claimed to see the ghostly figure of a monk dressed in a brown habit, wandering through the graveyard with his head bowed in sorrow. His apparition has been seen kneeling before the ruined sections of the abbey, as if in prayer, before disappearing into the shadows. Others have heard the faint sound of chanting, though no living monks reside at the abbey today. One of the eeriest tales associated with the Wailing Monk occurred in the 1970s when a group of teenagers ventured into the abbey at night on a dare. As they explored the old ruins, they were suddenly overcome by an overwhelming sense of sadness and fear. One of the boys reported hearing soft chanting in Latin, and another saw the figure of the monk gliding across the darkened graveyard. Terrified, they fled the scene, but they swore never to return after that unsettling experience. But the Wailing Monk is not the only spirit said to linger around Bangor Abbey. The graveyard surrounding the abbey is home to many ancient graves, and some visitors have reported seeing shadowy figures moving among the tombstones, particularly near the older burial sites. These apparitions, described as misty, translucent forms, seem to drift between the graves before vanishing into the night. Cold spots are common in the graveyard, even on warm summer nights, and some have reported the sensation of being watched while walking through the area. One particularly unusual phenomenon reported at Bangor Abbey is the sudden and inexplicable appearance of lights in the graveyard at night. These glowing orbs, often blue or white in color, have been seen floating above the tombstones or hovering near the ruins of the abbey. Paranormal investigators who have studied the site believe these lights could be manifestations of spiritual energy, though their exact nature remains a mystery. Despite its haunting reputation, Bangor Abbey continues to draw visitors interested in both its historical and spiritual significance. The abbey's long and storied past, combined with the ghostly legends that have grown around it, make it a fascinating place for those intrigued by the supernatural. While some come to admire the ancient architecture and reflect on its religious heritage, others come in the hopes of glimpsing the Wailing Monk or experiencing the eerie phenomena that have made Bangor Abbey one of the most haunted locations in North Down. For those brave enough to explore the abbey at night, the echoes of the past seem to linger in the air, and the spirits of Bangor Abbey may still be watching from the shadows, waiting to share their story with those willing to listen. Wallace Park, Lisburn. Wallace Park in Lisburn, County Antrim, is a peaceful retreat by day, a place where locals and visitors come to enjoy leisurely walks, family outings, and the beauty of nature. However, when the sun sets and the shadows deepen, Wallace Park becomes the center of eerie tales that have earned it a reputation as one of the most haunted places in Lisburn. Named after Sir Richard Wallace, a prominent philanthropist who donated the land to the town, Wallace Park is steeped in history. The park is not only known for its picturesque landscape, but also for strange occurrences that date back to the early 1900s. The most famous tale revolves around the figure of a young woman, often referred to as their Lady in Grey, whose ghost has been seen wandering the park's pathways on misty evenings. Legend has it that the Lady in Grey was once a local woman who fell deeply in love with a man from Lisburn. Their relationship was fraught with obstacles, and the young man eventually broke her heart, leaving her in a state of despair. Overcome with grief, the woman is said to have wandered the park late at night, eventually meeting her tragic end under mysterious circumstances. Some say she took her own life, while others believe she died of a broken heart. Since then, her spirit has been seen walking the paths of Wallace Park, dressed in a grey gown, her face pale and expressionless. Numerous witnesses have reported seeing the Lady in Grey, particularly near the park's pond. She is often seen standing by the water, staring out over its still surface. Some visitors claim to have approached her, only to watch her fade into the mist. Others have felt an unexplainable coldness when passing through certain areas of the park, as if the temperature drops suddenly when her presence is near. In addition to the Lady in Grey, Wallace Park is said to be haunted by the spirits of soldiers from the First World War. During the war, part of the park was used as a training ground for troops, and many young men from the Lisburn area prepared for battle within its grounds. Tragically, some of these soldiers never returned from the front lines, and their spirits are believed to linger in the park. Late at night, passers-by have reported hearing the sound of marching boots, even though the park is empty. Others have described hearing distant voices and the soft murmur of military commands, as if the soldiers are still drilling long after their time has passed. One of the most chilling stories associated with Wallace Park comes from a local man who was walking his dog late one evening. As he passed by a secluded area of the park, he saw what appeared to be a group of men in military uniforms standing in formation. Thinking it was some kind of reenactment, he watched for a moment, but something seemed off. The men were completely still, and their faces were obscured by shadows. When he took a step closer, the group vanished before his eyes, leaving him shaken and unsure of what he had just witnessed. In addition to the ghostly figures, there have been numerous reports of strange lights appearing in the park at night. These glowing orbs, often seen near the wooded areas, seem to flicker and dance in the air before disappearing without a trace. Paranormal investigators who have visited Wallace Park have documented fluctuations in temperature and electromagnetic readings, suggesting that the area may indeed be a hotspot for supernatural activity. Today, Wallace Park remains a popular destination for locals, but those who know its haunted history are careful not to stay too long after dark. The serene beauty of the park during the day gives way to an eerie stillness at night, where the ghosts of the past seem to walk among the living. Whether it's the heartbroken Lady in Grey or the spirits of the soldiers lost to war, Wallace Park has earned its place among Lisburn's most haunted locations. The haunted locations of Northern Ireland serve as a reminder that history is never truly gone, and the spirits of the past may still walk among us. Whether driven by tragedy, love, or mystery, these ghosts leave an indelible mark on the places they inhabit, ensuring their stories are never forgotten. For those brave enough to explore, the supernatural may be just a step away.